Hey YouTube, I'm just going to talk about betta fish real quick. And I don't have a betta fish anymore, but I've had betta fish for years and years, and I'm just going to talk about a few things I've learned over the years about betta fish. They're pretty easy fish to take care of, but the one thing they always get, it seems like, is fin rot, and it's very common in bettas. And the reason for that, in my opinion, I don't think you should put betta in a tank bigger than a 10-gallon. They have to go to the top to breathe, and it's just harder for them to get to the surface. And there's more algae and bacteria in a bigger tank. It's not as easy to clean as a small tank. But at the same time, you shouldn't put a betta in a small, tiny little tank and cram it with all these ornaments. People say they live in little ponds, and well as they can live in little, more dried up ponds, they're not going to thrive in that, and most betta fish live in bigger lakes and a little bigger bodies of water, but they're just not fast flowing streams, so they don't think they need a big tank, but they need a big tank just like any other tropical fish. They just don't, in my opinion, they don't need anything bigger than a 10-gallon, just because they go up to the surface to breathe. Well, as they do breathe through their gills, and you should have some kind of air bubbler or filter. This one in my tank is powerful. This would probably be fine in a 10-gallon. 5.5 gallons, great for a betta. The first thing I started out with was a 2.5 gallon, and that's really small. Don't go any smaller than that. And don't cram your tank with all these ornaments, because they like to swim around. And I would definitely have a filter. I always put a mesh on my filter just in case my fish got caught on the filter. Bettas can get sure fins on them and rip and tear the fins, as well as sharp ornaments. They can do that as well. Always make sure you don't put rough ornaments in there. Always feel them, make sure they're nice and smooth. Live plants are great. They like moss balls. They like to rub against them. These plants right here, best plants in my opinion. I always have trouble with most plants in my tank, but these are great, and these over here are pretty great. I never do good with bamboo or swordtails. I think that's what they're called. But yeah, you should definitely have a filter if you have a tank large enough for a small filter. Tank mates, the best tank mates I've found are corridoras. These are peppered corridoras in my tank. And these are the most hardy of the corridoras, in my opinion. I've had them in the past with all my other bettas, and they do great. They've gone through moves and everything. They're really great fish. Don't put any other bigger fish like these grammies that are going to nip at your betta. Although, the opposite way, don't put any small fish that your betta will nip and kill, like these little tiny tetras. You can have bigger fish, like this loach. He's like 3 inches. But just know that they get pretty big, and you don't want anything that's going to attack your betta. The loach can get pretty aggressive sometimes. So corridors are really the best. If you want another betta in your tank, never put male bettas together. They'll attack and kill each other. Females are fine. If you do want 2 males, get separate tanks or get dividers, but make sure if you put a divider in the tank, that the tank is big enough for a divider, like a 10-gallon. A 5-gallon tank, I wouldn't suggest putting a divider. Too small. They do like to swim around. Don't crowd it with ornaments, with leaves. They like to lay on leaves, but don't put a plant in a little 2.5-gallon tank with a divider in it where they can't move around. They like to make bubble nests in the plants at the surface, so you should have some type of leaf at the surface so they can lay on. Make sure the water flow is not too strong. They do not like fast moving waters.